Hi, this is the third of the video in the series. The hand around which these videos have been made is the hand that you see here. The bidding went pass, South opened one club and East West had a 5-5 club fit. The question was, how do you find your way to a club slam or a game? In the first video, we saw that the bidding would have been easy had East West had a 5-5 fit instead of a club fit, because I had given clubs and spades switched in that video. In the second, we saw the results on the table in the quarterfinals of the highest prize money tournament in India 2021 calendar. We examined the scores at 8 tables where this deal was played. The club contract was never on the radar, where South opened one club. We then asked a few more questions. These quarterfinalists came from the top teams in India, and this was a high caliber game. The Russian players were also professionals and in fact were favorites of the team championships. Why then did a club contract fail to appear on the radar? And the three questions I had raised was it because East West misbid their hands? Was it because East West were not aware of the latest developments in defense against one club opening? Or was there some other reason? I think you would agree with me that it is not because East West misbid their hands or because East West weren't aware of the proper defense against one club, but it was more because of the third reason, that something else transfixed them. And I suggest to you that something else was system policy. Now, before detailing out what that is, let me just do a bit of analysis of the standard one club opening. I would call it as Purvapaksha. In the Indian traditions of debate or in Indian knowledge traditions, when you debated against opponents, different schools of thoughts debated against each other. The first task each one carried out was to analyze the position of the other, the position of the opponent, and this had a beautiful name, Purvapaksha. In business terms, something like due diligence would come close to it, but let me call it Purvapaksha. So let us do the Purvapaksha of the one club opening. So what I did was, I dealt about 1,000 hands where South would open one club. So these are all 1,000 or 1,001 days. And what do you find out? The standard one club opening is for many players at least 3 clubs. For some it could even be doubleton club because they tend to open with 4-4-3-2, both majors 4-carder. They prefer to open one club rather than one diamond. But I did not consider that possibility. I only considered the possibilities where one club had at least 3 cards. Now, what would you see? You see that around 60% of the hands, club is the longest suit in one club opening, and around 11% and 12% hand. On 11% hand, spades are the longest suit. On 12% hand, hearts are the longest suit. I didn't make a particular distinction between hands where both majors were 4 cards, etc. But roughly around 20 to 23% hands where one of the majors would be longer than club suit. And then There are other hands, 17%, where club and major would be of same length. So this is what essentially a one club opening is. It could have the longest suit as heart, as spade, or as club. Okay. Now, what sort of contracts are the par contracts on these deals? So, in those 1000 deals, you might be surprised to know, but on 16 out of those 1000 deals, East West had a club contract for them. On so many deals, so which is around 6 to 7% deals, where East West had a no term contract. Overall, about 35 to 36% of the deals, East West had a par contract, although the opening was by South. Finally, only 3 out of 356 times, that means around 35 to 36% of the times, the par contract was by East West. So 1 out of 3 deals, roughly, East West would have a par. 2 out of 3 deals, North South would have a par. And only on 3 out of those deals, 3 out of those 1000 deals, the contract was played better from West side. So how is that important? I'll come to that later. This is another way of showing out of 1000 par contracts, this grey thing is par contracts for North-South, this blue for East-West. So if you can see this faint yellow line where West conducting the contract is beneficial for East-West. So out of all those 350, 360 or 1/3 of the deals, only 3 out of 1000 deals, the contract is better conducted by West. West is the person who is going to overcall on one club. Now, what does that suggest? Quickly, I would say that if West conducting the contract is not a great idea, then a natural bid by West is also not a great idea, because if West bids naturally, he would end up conducting the contract. So a much better template for East-West, a much better tactic for East-West is for the West not to bid naturally. This essentially is our Purvapaksha of one club opening, where we had a look at what one club opening had and what was it that you were going to defend against and what was your objective. So in 1/3 of these deals, you had to find your par, and on most of these, if you got East to conduct the contract, that is the person on the right hand side of the one club opener, then it would be beneficial for the East-West. So essentially, this is the Purvapaksha of one club opening. I would also like to show you something about the bridge WBF systems policy. So please have a look at this WBF systems policy and the highlighted text. A few things are worth noting. This was adopted December 1994. So before that, likely this policy didn't exist, or this was in some other form. I would just like you to note that. What does it say? The preamble is important. It says the objectives are to ensure that WBF championships can be properly operated and adequately administered with a fair and equal chance for all competitors, while at the same time affording a proper consideration to progress and innovation. I will stop here for this third in the series of this video. There will be a fourth one where I would spell out some possibilities of defense against the one club opening, how progress or innovation would look like to me. I have been a research person for almost 20 to 30 years of my life, so I do understand a bit about research. So I'll spell out what that research looks like, and then we will again have a look at the WBF systems policy to check if it really affords any consideration for progress and innovation. Thanks for joining, and bye for now.